Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I wanted to talk about the finale, obviously, that just aired, and talk about the ending scene in which we do see Codron actually show up here. And so I want to talk about that scene specifically, and I guess what it could mean for season 4, which is going to be the final season. They're filming that right now, and yeah, so before going any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Now, Codron does show up, and I already kind of knew that he was going to be there in season 4 just because of filming stuff. Like, there was some spoilers that came out, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, and, it's really unfortunate that I saw that. Usually, I'm pretty good with staying away from spoilers, but yeah, I saw that he was going to be there in season 4, and so, obviously, there was no confirmation that he was going to be there in season 3, but I kind of assumed that, they could do something like that where they had him appear in season 3 just because... like, it's kind of a good cliffhanger to end on, right? And I think it's one of those things where, like, the character's showing up again, you're gonna have so many questions, and now you know that he's back, right? And so there's some kind of excitement there for the final season. And, I will just say, like, the excitement for the final season for me has nothing to do really with the story, but really just like how are Daryl and Carol going to get back? Because I think that's really the most exciting part to all of this, right? Like, I really did enjoy season 3, and I'll do an overall review of the season probably in the next couple of days. I really enjoyed season 3 a lot, but I think that the spinoffs have had a really hard time setting up really amazing villains, right? I think Madame Genet was a great villain, and the CRM, and I think there's specifically 2 reasons why as to why they were really great villains. I think it's because the CRM, they were built up really well, going back to The Walking Dead season 7 or season 8, season 7, season 8, around there. And then you go to, Madame Genet and the Varian Walkers and everything. That was stuff that was set up and rolled beyond season 2. And obviously there might not be a connection there like at all anymore, but at the time we didn't know that. We thought it was all connected, right? So there was an actual build. There was something really exciting with the villains. And if you think about it, like, variant walkers, that's like, the walkers evolving, so that's exciting because the apocalypse is going to get a lot scarier for the characters, right? The CRM, like, it was this whole organization that was going to be, like, maybe connected to the old government or just whatever it was going to be. It was super exciting. And so to me, I think besides that, like, all the villains on Dead City aren't really that great. And also, for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, I think that season 3's villains just really weren't the best at all. Even in season 2 with Madame Genet and the Variant Walker stuff, like, I think people just want to see something that just makes sense for the characters surviving and not like random villains that don't matter at all. And it feels like nothing really matters with all these characters. Like Variant Walkers, that matters because that's going to affect everyone. The CRM, that whole thing mattered because we were sort of like going up in terms of the communities that they were running into, right? Like first it was like this place, the Commonwealth, and the CRM. And it was exciting, right? And I think that the spin-offs have had a really hard time establishing a really exciting villain. And that is definitely an issue here that I think really won't be necessarily an issue in the final season, because I think the final season is going to be just Daryl and Carol going back home. And so how is that going to happen? And how does that set up the characters reuniting? And will Codron make it back there? Or is he going to die in this season here? So a lot to talk about here. Codron actually shows up, I was going to say at the very end, but he shows up in the beginning of the episode here. And as much as it doesn't really make a lot of sense, and I'll talk about all of that here right away, but it's nice to see Codron. I think that he's a really great character. I liked the character a lot in season 1. I thought he was going to be done in season 2. I remember reviewing a lot of the episodes in season 2 and thinking he was going to die. So, like, to have the character here still, really awesome. It would be nice to see him go to America with Daryl and Carol, but I just think that when it comes to that, it really depends on what AMC wants to do with some of the actors, because, like, I think Laurent, Codron, there's, I think also Justina, like, and Antonio, like, will these characters go back to America with them? I think it would be awesome. And then have them in like the next show where they're all reunited or whatever, right? But it just really feels like it's not going to be like that. And all these characters will either die or just like decide to stay there. And, that's the one thing that I think hurt this show quite a bit, is that there's no characters just like surviving with them, like they're not building up a new group. I thought that that's what they were building at the end of season 2, or at least going into season 2, it felt like that. It really felt like by the finale, because we knew they were going to Spain, it was going to be Daryl, Carol, Isabel, Codron, Laurent, and I think that was pretty much at that point. And it really felt like that was going to be like the new group there going into season 3. And then obviously we'd have like other characters like Antonio and Justina, right? And then it was like this other group building kind of thing. And it was kind of exciting to think about. And they just didn't really do that at all. And Codron went missing for some reason. And so I think to explain him coming back here, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This is obviously really convenient for him to just show up out of nowhere. Like, he was going to London. He was in that tunnel from France to London. He got lost, obviously, because he thought that Daryl was his brother or whatever. Like, he kind of went crazy, right? And so he ran off, and that was just it, right? It was a cliffhanger, and I just think it wasn't really that needed, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And now you're trying to explain this whole thing of how he got there, and, like, I'm really interested in what their explanation is going to be, because it's either going to have to be something that really matters with the story, which it's not going to, because he's alone. It's not like he ran to another community that went there, blah, blah, blah. I don't think they're going to put that much thought into it. So it's probably just going to be like, oh, you know, I had family that lived over here or whatever, or I was just going to like this place. And so it's going to be something like that. It's not going to make a lot of sense. Honestly, they might not even put that much thought into it. It literally might just be like, well, I was just out here trying to survive or whatever, and that might be it. And, you know, I think that this is definitely an issue with, I don't know if it's like, you know, necessarily David Zabel, who is the showrunner of this show, or if it's just writing in general, because there's only like 7 episodes, right? Or even 8 episodes. Like, there's not a lot of episodes. There's, you know, back then when we had 16 episodes, you could explain a lot of this stuff, and it was exciting, and it made sense. And now that we only have like 7 or 8, that's a lot of just like these characters have to be here just cuz. And I think that Codron being here is, again, it's exciting, doesn't really make a lot of sense. And that's why I think, you know, I was trying to think of like who could be the next showrunner of the next show. I really, like, again, Seth Hoffman, he's going to be the showrunner of Dead City Season 3, and I think Season 4, because there's a rumor that it is going to be happening for sure. We'll see if it gets to Season 5 or 6. I'm assuming it's probably going to end there, and then we'll get a show with all of those characters reuniting. I think Rick should be a part of that because of what Andrew Lincoln said. Anyways, I don't think that David Zabel should be the showrunner for that show, just because, again, I don't know if it has anything to do with, you know, his writing or just the way he's running this show overall, but it's definitely the episode count. And I think AMC does have to give them more episodes, I think, to work with. So I don't want to put all the blame, obviously, on David Zabel at all. You know, I think with Scott Gimple being the showrunner, looking back to seasons 4 to 8, like, as much as all of that was so just, you know, like, there was obviously a lot of issues with like Carl dying and all of that. And The Ones Who Live, like, yes, you can say really whatever you want about the finale. I think if The Ones Who Live had like 16 episodes, it would be a really great show, like overall, because you would be able to expand on so much over 16 episodes. And so really, it's kind of insane because back then, you know, not a lot of us wanted Scott Gimple as the showrunner going into season 9 because of Carl's death and the cliffhanger and stuff with Glenn. You know, and now looking back at it all, especially with The Ones Who Live, I think that he's actually a really great showrunner. And I think he's actually really great with, like, you know, writing for The Walking Dead when he's actually working on all of it. And I think with all these spinoffs, he's not really that involved, because I've heard him say in interviews that he really just kind of lets them do whatever. And obviously he oversees everything. But I do think David Zabel or like Eli Journe, right, with Dead City, they really just kind of do whatever they want, I think, for the most part, as long as they stay within certain things of the Walking Dead world, right? And, or unless maybe Scott Gimple wants like this to happen or whatever, because he's building up to this moment. But there hasn't really been a lot of that, I think, with these spinoffs. And I think we're seeing that now as to why it's just, I don't know, honestly, I would really want Scott Gimple to come back and be a showrunner on something with The Walking Dead, because I think that it would work really, really well. Again, season 3 of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon's really great. Like, I actually really enjoyed the season here. But if you're just looking at a lot of the convenient moments and certain things with the finale and the lack of really an interesting villain, you know, it's definitely been a thing with this show, I would say. And Codron now coming back, it's just, you know, as for how it's going to actually play out in season 4, I imagine, again, like by the time this video is coming out, we could already have a trailer for season 4, so I'll do a video on that right away. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if anything's coming out at all. I'm recording this way beforehand, and so I will say I think Codron will probably be seen in the teaser, probably interacting with Daryl and Carol, and I think if the first episode doesn't begin with Codron basically walking up to them, then I don't know what is going on, because like I'm trying to picture how the episode's going to play out. Like, Codron, if he's seeing the fire there, like, he's going to go over there. I could understand maybe, you know, he's a little like, well, I don't know who's there, so I'm going to stay back, right? Like, I think that makes some sense. But I think if he notices it's Daryl and Carol, he's going to go and see them. And he would be able to see that. So, unless they do something where like he just kind of watches from afar for a little bit, and then later in the episode he shows up. But I don't know, I think he's probably going to show up pretty much right away because of just, again, it's a cliffhanger ending kind of thing, right? So I think that's likely going to be where this goes next with Codron. And I think for his story in season 4, it can really go in any place, really, because like his brother's gone, there's no connection really to France besides that's kind of where he lived before, but he's out there just surviving now, right? He's not with any group, like he was just with Daryl and Carol. So I think he's going to help them with, you know, trying to find a way to get back home. Codron might go back with them. I think that's going to be some of the stuff that they actually deal with there in that season. And yeah, we only have 8 more episodes left. So anyways, I'm going to leave it here. So definitely post all your thoughts down below. I know that in this video, I was kind of ranting a little bit on some of the stuff with, you know, writing and the conveniences of certain moments and all that, but it is something that is, you know, personally for me, really frustrating to watch because, you know, I think that The Walking Dead has always been really great at, I would say honestly, back in the day, it was almost the opposite of what we have right now. It was a lot of moments of just like nothing would happen, but I would much rather that. I would rather, you know, a lot of episodes where some of them nothing's happening, but they're building up everything and things feel so realistic than what we have now where everything is so predictable. People are just entering communities like nothing. Like Salaz Del Mar was so easy for Daryl to get into. Like there was no guards anywhere. He just walked in there and just like saved Carol, Antonio, and Roberto out of nowhere. Like there's just a lot of things like that happen that I'm just like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of that. And I would want more episodes for sure. So yeah, really awesome to see Codron coming back here. And I really can't wait to see, I guess, what is going to be next here in the final season of this show, which is exciting. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it here. Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.